Now, 9 of the 12 so-called founding clubs of the European Super League may have withdrawn, but one of the architects of the project insists it's not dead and will return. Talking, of course, about the Real Madrid president and prospective chairman of the ESL, Florentino Perez. He's described the current Champions League format as obsolete. Well, we're joined now by our reporter, Paul Gilmore. Paul, first of all, tell us a little bit about this interview that Perez has given. He's certainly a determined character, isn't he?
He certainly is. Perez has been speaking last night, and yeah, it didn't disappoint in terms of highlights. He said the project is on standby and says they will continue working. Now, the majority of the original founding clubs have, of course, withdrawn, but Perez says there was someone in the English group who didn't have much interest in the Super League, and they started infecting the rest. They all signed a binding agreement, but in the end, because of the Premier League avalanche, they said, OK, we're off. And although Perez is insisting they have not left yet, he says you cannot get out of a contract like this. They are binding contracts. He says, I'm convinced that if this project doesn't work, another similar one will. He compared football to tennis, saying it needed more matchups like Roger Federer versus Rafa Nadal. He was quoted in the Spanish media as well as saying it would be difficult to bring a team into any new Super League from a small league like Turkey. So I'm sure he will get a lovely reaction if Real Madrid make the Champions League final in Istanbul this season. He also claimed Chelsea fan protests, the ones we saw before the Brighton game in the Premier League. He said those were staged, but he refused to elaborate more on that. And he was also critical of the Champions League. He said it doesn't become exciting until the quarterfinals. Again, going back, his own team, Real Madrid, beaten by Shakhtar Donetsk 3-2 in the group stages this season. That was a pretty exciting game. So he has been certainly outspoken on this issue. He's also been critical of the UEFA president. He says, I've never seen aggression like it from the president of UEFA and the domestic leagues. It seemed orchestrated, insults, threats, like we killed football. We were trying to save football, he says. Impossible to make signings like Haaland and Mbappe as well. That's another thing he said, without the Super League. And he also said, football changes, life changes, new generations appear. Football is spectacular, but if we don't take care of it, young people will go elsewhere. We have to bring them back with competitive matches with good teams. So clearly, Perez has been completely outspoken on this.
Yeah, La Liga without the rebel sides are meeting today, and we'll find out what comes out of that. So what about our 6 teams? Is there any way they can be punished, and if so, how?
Well, I think it's safe to say there will be some sort of sanctions on the Big Six and those people involved in this plot. And the Premier League, we know, are considering just exactly what action they will take. No decision has been made. A points deduction feels unlikely because the feeling is that that would punish fans and players. What we will possibly see is the removal of key figures from the Big Six clubs from subcommittees. And the reason that is quite important, these subcommittees with these influential people can shape process, they can shape decision making. So yeah, in terms of people involved at the Big Six clubs, we think of Bruce Buck, who's on the audit committee, Vinny Venkatesham at Arsenal's on the club strategic advisory group, Ferran Soriano is also on that group, Ed Woodward of course is leaving Manchester United, he sits on the club broadcast advisory group, as does Liverpool's Tom Werner. Daniel Levy on any of these committees, but clearly these are powerful, influential people. They enjoy shaping those decisions, and that might just be the way to hurt those guys who have been plotting behind the scenes.
It might indeed. Paul Gilmore, thanks very much.